Gather round, my children, as I tell you an interesting story that happened about a year ago. It was around that time that I came to the inescapable conclusion that social justice warriors are going to be about the absolute death of humanity. And I've been busy with school, so I can only now just catch up to it and process how insane it was. So around last July, my brother puts a link to an article on his Facebook about a man who had tied up and raped an alligator. This is not the actual article, by the way. The original has since been deleted, and actually debunks. It did not really happen. Okay, I want to make that shit perfectly clear. Please don't take this crap too seriously. It's like they just found a picture of an alligator tied up and like a scuzzy looking guy, and I don't know, like sometimes these things just write themselves. But this article is a retelling of the original with some of the quotes and information from it. And just wow, what can I say about this? Let's have a quick read, shall we? Florida raises the stakes yet again. This story revolves around a 59-year-old guy named Rupert Darwin, who lives in the sparsely populated Everglades City, which is home to roughly 400 people. Darwin lives in the outskirts, works as a fisherman, and keeps to himself according to residents. They did also describe him as odd, although I'm not really sure if anyone could have prepared them for how odd he actually turned out to be. It transpired that Darwin had a 12-foot alligator tied up and blindfolded in his backyard, and that he would regularly rape the animal multiple times a day. Good God. He was discovered after an unnamed nature hiker walked past his place and overheard the dirty deed going on. He also heard Darwin talking dirty to the alligator. It was the darndest thing. I was performing a nature walk, but I got a little off the beaten track when I got lost because my compass stopped working after I sat on it by accident. Okay, side note, I should have smelled that this story was bullshit. Like, who the hell gets lost because of a compass in this day and age? And who the hell carries a fucking compass? Anyway, I came across this wooden hut in the woods and was going to go in and ask them for directions when I heard someone shouting in the backyard. I walked over there and heard Darwin growling. "Next time you try to kill a man, you best get the job done. Now you're my bitch forever." It was the damn strangest thing I've ever seen. The gator didn't even move. It was like it didn't give a shit that Darwin was having sex with it. Oh my lord. Darwin was arrested following these revelations and was charged with multiple counts of animal cruelty, as well as illegally keeping a wild animal. He pretty much admitted to all the charges and explained the situation during his police interview. "The gator had gotten a hold of my pant leg when I was fishing in the swamp and tried to drag me into the water. I was able to escape without injury, but I wanted revenge, pure and simple." Okay. Another clue that I should have gotten this was fake. This asshole speaks too intelligently. I was able to escape without injury? I mean, come on, writers, get into character a little bit, like, "That bitch tried to eat me, but I done her good goddamn." Anyway. I don't have no sexual attraction to gators, but I wanted to teach this bitch a lesson. I could have just killed her, but that would have been too easy. She was getting what she deserved. I planned to chop off her tail and pull her teeth apart too. I was then gonna torture her by playing Jesus Christ. By playing nigga music at her over and over again without stopping. Bitch. Now, all of this shit you might expect to warrant the natural reaction, which is to put one's face in the palm of one's two hands and silently weep for what has become of humanity. Now, this is before the story was known to be a fake. But no, actually. I didn't weep. I didn't lament. Actually, my reaction now is pretty similar to what it was at the time. I had a good laugh, even at the thought of this racist, dirty-looking swamp rat hate fucking a reptile. Puzzling over, I mean, how the fuck does one, like, where is the hole? Doesn't the tail get it? Oh, fucking hell. I'm already considering this much more deeply than I ever should. No, I had a good laugh. I shook it off easily, and I had a deep, untroubled sleep that night. Why? Because I had already recently read an article which signaled the end of the human race a couple of weeks before this. An article so stupid, so chock full of bullshit that I was left speechless. This is the article that made me weep for humanity. This is the article that took me down to the basement and touched me in naughty places. Where do I even begin with this shit? Okay, so do a Google search for Old Navy fat shaming selfie, and you will get tons of articles about a woman named Rachel Taylor. Who is Rachel Taylor and what is her story? Well, again, I couldn't find the original that I read on MSN, but it has been told over several major news forums, including CNN. But let's check out Mashable as it comes closest to the original that I read. Headline: Woman takes selfie in Old Navy to overcome fat shaming. Okay. One woman took a stand for female shoppers who are plus size by snapping a fitting room selfie, and the image is now going viral. Rachel Taylor was shopping in Old Navy when she overheard an interaction between two customers that made her heart sink. A mother and her daughter were making fun of the plus-size tank tops in the store. Taylor recounted the interaction on Old Navy's Facebook. The girl picked up a plus-size tank top, showed it to her mom, and said, "Look, me and so-and-so can fit in this tank top." Her mom laughed and said, "Yeah, you could. That thing is huge." As a plus-size woman, Taylor was hurt by the shopper's comments. "I couldn't help it. I started crying," she wrote. I started crying. Okay. Why? No, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I guess the girl and her mom walked away. I have no idea. My husband walked me out of the store to the car. I sat in the car crying for a long time. Oh, jeez. But eventually went back inside to finish my shopping. When she returned to the store, Taylor took a selfie in the plus-size tank top that had been the subject of derision, and looked amazing in it. Hang on, let me read that for you again. And looked amazing in it. Amazing. Okay. I ended up buying that tank top because it turns out I look fierce in it, Taylor wrote. Be kind. Think about others before you speak, and if someone hurts you, you have to move on. Old Navy even responded to Taylor's inspirational post. Rachel, you are amazing. We want to celebrate your fierce style by sending you a gift card. Please keep an eye out for a message from us. And although there were some haters, at the end of the day, Taylor's words served as empowerment for many. Holy shit. Oh, Jesus. Where the fuck do I start with this? I feel like my brain is about to implode. Why is this a news story? This is one of the weirdest things I have ever seen paraded in front of me as a news story. Ever. Like, I can't think of anything weirder. Not even the alligator fucker. Not by a long shot. And I would guess that for almost any intelligent person, after reading that, you could easily see why. But for completeness' sake, and especially for any social justice warriors in the audience, I'm going to spell it out for you as clearly as possible. This is not a news story. Or more to the point, this is a weird non-event that was turned into a news story through the power of buzzwords, and something else we'll talk about a little bit later. What the fuck was this? No, really. This fascinates me. I want to really examine what the fuck just happened in this, let's call it a story. You have a woman who is shopping for clothes at an Old Navy store. She overhears a mother and daughter talking about a big-sized shirt. Not about fat people, not about or directed to Rachel herself, and for fuck's sake, not even spiteful or mean-spirited comments. They said that two young girls could fit in this big shirt. Like, how ludicrously innocuous can you possibly get? Like, I could partially understand if the mother and daughter were saying, offensive-minded comments. Like, if they said, cow or fat ass or, began mooing at each other or something. But goddamn, they just said that a large-sized tank top was huge. It is. It's big. That's... Fuck. How the fuck is that fat shaming? Really, I want to know. I want someone to explain to me how calling a large-sized tank top huge in a conversation amongst yourselves is fat shaming. Am I missing something? Did I forget how to speak English? I thought that the verb to shame means to at least attempt to make someone, or I don't know, something like a dog or a cat, feel ashamed. They weren't making anybody feel ashamed. They were talking to each other. They were not talking to Rachel. And they were not trying to fucking offend anybody. And I'm pretty sure the goddamn tank top itself didn't take offense. Or did I just trigger someone with my comment? Like, am I going to get a bunch of angry comments about how, excuse me, Mr. Privileged Asshole, but dogs are not things, thank you very much. And the next asshole will come along and say, excuse me, but why did you just mention dogs and completely marginalize cats? Cats are people too, you privileged fuckwad. I mean, fuck. It truly never ends with the hypersensitive, who expect their offended feelings to make the world just stop on a dime. So again, let's focus on this. We have a private conversation between two people discussing clothes, to which the hero of our story, and make no bones about it, Rachel is definitely painted out to be a hero, what with taking a stand for plus-size ladies or overcoming fat-shaming. The hero of our story overhears the conversation, and her reaction is to go cry about it in her car. Cry for a long time, she tells us. I'm having such trouble picturing this. I mean, I'm not the kind of person who cries very often. I've never cried at like a movie or anything like that, but I know many people who have, and who do. And I can't even imagine any one of them being such a wreck as to cry over innocuous comments made by strangers. I mean, I've already lost track of how many times I've said something like, oh my lord, and rolled my eyes during this video, but what the hell else can I say to this? I mean, how many times have words lost their meaning or been replaced by buzzwords? We have a courageous stand against fat shaming, which included no courage, no fat shaming, and again, do you writers even know what the word stand or the phrase stand up to even fucking means? What do you, the audience member, think when the expression stand or stand up to comes to mind? Doesn't it usually involve like some sort of struggle or confrontation against overwhelming or essentially impossible odds? Didn't David stand up to Goliath? So now, according to this feminist definition, what does that mean? Did David start crying when he heard that Goliath was coming? Did he then go out to his car, which in those days was his horse, I guess, and keep crying for, quote, a long time? And then I guess instead of facing down and confronting Goliath, he just goes off to a portrait painter and has him etch out a shitty portrait. Because if there is one final cherry on top of this shit sundae, it is the whole bullshit about looking amazing in this tank top. Now, let me make something perfectly clear. I'm a big guy myself, and I love big girls. And I've even seen some other selfies of Rachel, and I really don't think that she's bad looking. She can be pretty cute. But what the fuck is this? This picture is horrible. And I'm not saying that to be mean to her. I'm saying that because I can clear as day see that the Emperor isn't wearing any clothes. Or more specifically, the Empress is wearing shitty clothes. Like, what are you trying to make me feel sorry for her and say she looks good out of pity? She doesn't look fierce, which I guess is supposed to mean smoking hot. She looks like shit. These pictures of her look nice. This looks like a frumpy housewife with a bad fashion sense. Again, am I missing something? Like, is it because it's the American flag and I'm supposed to lie to her and say she looks good out of some patriotic duty? Somebody, please help me. I think I'm going out of my fucking mind looking at this. I mean, fuck. Guys, I never thought I would say this, but honestly, alligator fucker. Fake didn't actually happen, alligator fucker. I beg of you, bring me back to reality. Let's just think about this for a second. really stop to consider this. Reading this article about a racist freak who tied up and raped an alligator didn't confuse me in the least. I did not feel thrown off or have some loss of equilibrium, nothing of the sort. I know why this is a news article. This is the story of a fucking freak doing something legendarily freaky. Okay? The fact that it didn't happen is actually kind of irrelevant, because the point is, if it did happen, there's no question as to why it's a news story. If you've been poking around the internet for any amount of time, I'm sure you've discovered that some people out there are fucking freaks. And this dude is legendary. Okay, I get it. That's a news story. This shit, on the other hand, is just mind-blowing to me. The level of stupidity and inanity is just epic. This confounds me as to how it became a news story. How did this become a news story? Every element of it is just wrong and worthy of absolutely zero attention. It would be like if I went down to the post office and bumped my head against the wall and then shook it off and bought some stamps and went home, and then somebody made a full fucking blown news article out of it. I mean, what is this? You know what I thought when I first read it? I felt like I had just been punked. Like I had just been part of some social experiments where the people who made the story wanted to see just how stupid the average American is. They wanted to see just how apathetic people would accept any story as long as it was dressed up in feminist rhetoric. Because if there is a final layer of sprinkles on top of this shit sundae, it is something that I like to call feminist gardening. I mean, you see it all over. They cut this out and trim down these hedges and take out these facts and downplay those inconvenient ones. You cut off the opposing viewpoints. You sprinkle in some euphemisms, some buzzwords. We can't say large. We have to say plus-sized. And hey, it's all about fat shaming, even though, I mean, yeah, technically nobody shamed anybody. But hey, female empowerment and body positivity and fat acceptance and all that stuff. Now, thank God, not all the people in the world are such fucking idiots. And as you can imagine, even when this kind of crap is paraded in front of them, some people responded back. But if you notice, in this article, that's all been conveniently gardened out. Although there were some haters, Taylor's words served as empowerment for many. Yes, we wouldn't want any of those horrible woman haters speaking freely about our private little garden. I mean, public. Very public. Incredibly public garden, with stories being run on CNN, MSN, Yahoo, and several mainstream websites ubiquitously over the internet for millions to see and not respond to. But that's okay, because if we know feminists, we know that they love to turn off the comments and not hear any disagreements or arguments, or wait a minute, I mean cyberbullying. And make no mistake, the lovely Miss Rachel, speaking in a follow-up interview, has definitely made it clear that she is a feminist. And you know, it would be one thing if it was just MSN saying this shit, but no, several major news sources, and they're all telling the same bullshit story that this woman is a hero for crying about a conversation that she overheard and posting a shitty selfie. If you are a feminist and you feel like this situation is awesome, I want you to really sit down for a second. Just think about deeper ramifications than just this situation. I want you to think about a world it creates when you can douse a situation in buzzwords like empowerment and fat shaming and overcoming oppression when the situation is anything but. And then I want you to consider what happens when the shoe is on the other foot. What happens when you are in an authoritative position? Like, say, for example, you're a teacher, right? And you call out a transsexual, minority student whom you caught cheating, right? You caught them actually cheating on a test. And then they suddenly turn around the situation by claiming racism or sexism against you. right? Now you're being doused in words like racist or oppressing or transphobic. And when you try and tell the people to look at the specifics, nobody cares to hear it. I liken it to sports. It's like, we always like it when the calls go in favor of our team, but at the end of the day, we want to know that even if the call goes against us, the game is being called fairly. Imagine if your team gets a flag called on them, right? And the coach yells at the ref, and the ref says, well, okay, and then just caves in. You know, in the short term, you might feel good, but in the back of your mind, you can sense that would ruin the game. But you know what? I kept asking myself, why is this a news article? Why is this a news article? And then I searched a bit, and the answer came pretty clear. Why is this a news article? Well, let's see. Although Rachel Taylor thanked Old Navy for carrying clothing styles she could fit, not every plus-size shopper is grateful to the franchise. The company came under fire when it was realized that plus-size women customers were charged more for clothes than other women. Since no such price change was made for men's clothing, the company was called out for sizeism and sexism. Thanks to the ugly controversy, Old Navy certainly appreciates the vote of confidence from customers like Rachel Taylor. And there's your answer. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist myself. I think that usually there's a simple, practical answer to why most of the things happen in the world. And here we see it. Feminism and big business in bed together. And it's not like there's any kind of secret to it. It just makes good business sense. You please us, and we won't bash you over the head with our buzzwords and isms. The company is criticized for overcharging on large women's clothes. And they could issue the realistic answer, the obvious fucking answer, that larger clothes necessarily demand more fabric and more materials, making them cost more. And women's clothes tend to be more complicated and stylish than men's, using more expensive materials, making them cost more. But no, fuck all that. Here's a golden opportunity. An overweight woman who voluntarily says we carry cute clothes for all size posts her pic on her own business Facebook account. So, let's put some corporate weight behind it and turn her into a hero. It's win-win. And it sucks, but yeah, they both won. Rachel got some free swag, and Old Navy gets a public image boost out of it. And I come to practically realize why there will always be feminists. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be correctly measured. The details don't need to match the narrative at all. Because regardless of the facts, it's a powerful narrative. It's powerful as hell, and it will supersede the reality in almost any case. And companies don't have to give the least, tiniest shit about feminism to profit by the image associated from pleasing feminists. And feminists don't need to get the facts straight to come out on top with the help of powerful business connections and media outlets telling the story and trimming the garden the way they like. It sucks. It really sucks, and there's almost no way to fight it. Because who wants to die alone on a hill for the truth? Isn't it better to march on with the winning side, even if that side has got their facts all wrong? Even if they don't actually stand up for anything, but they have the numbers. At least that way you'll survive, right? I'm an English teacher by trade. I remember one student, a high-level student that I taught, who always seemed to bring out the best in me as a teacher. I was teaching her the word sheer in English, and I came up with this explanation. The word sheer, basically, that describes the point at which quantity overcomes quality. So for example, you have a great boxer like Mike Tyson. He has better quality as a fighter than most, but now you make him fight like 10 guys in a row. Individually, he's better than them all, but the sheer amount of effort needed the sheer amount of resources against him will eventually burn him out. When you have a story which is complete bullshit, but it's propped up by business and political interests, it might have its intended effect by sheer brute force of money and political influence. I personally believe this is usually why feminists tend to get their way. The only good thing I can see about it is that sheer forces, they can never last forever, and people eventually open their eyes. Either way, though, it's a tough situation. No, not just tough, it's sticky. It's real sticky. It's stickier than a greased up crocodile on a Tallahassee Tuesday. Yee-haw! You get you some, Mr. Alligator fucker. You get you some now, Mr. Alligator fucker. Now, if y'all excuse me, I'm gonna break in these new Crocs. Wait!